My wife said you're just a paycheck to me. I acted normal. Then I pulled the plug on all her cards. I always believed Amanda, and I had the perfect marriage. 7 years of building a life together in our suburban Chicago home, working hard at my tech job to give us the comfortable lifestyle we enjoyed. Then one afternoon, I overheard something that shattered everything. My wife laughing with her friend on the phone saying I was just a paycheck to her. Nothing more. The shock froze me in place. But instead of confronting her immediately, I decided to play the long game. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button, and stick around to see how I pulled the plug on her cards. I met Amanda at my college friend Brad's barbecue 7 years ago. I was 28 then, working as a mid-level software developer at a growing tech company in Chicago. She walked in with her stunning smile, captivating blue eyes, and an infectious laugh that drew everyone to her. We connected instantly, talking until the early hours about everything from our favorite hiking trails to our shared love of classic rock. By the end of the night, I knew she was special. Our romance moved quickly. Within 6 months, we were practically living together at my modest apartment. Amanda worked as a marketing coordinator at a retail company then. Her salary was decent, but significantly less than mine. I never cared about that. We both contributed what we could, and it felt like a true partnership. After dating for just over a year, I proposed during a weekend trip to Lake Michigan. The wedding was beautiful but reasonable. We agreed to save money for a down payment on a house instead of spending it all on one day. Those early years were challenging financially, but we faced them together. We budgeted carefully packed lunches and celebrated small victories, like paying off my student loans or saving enough for a weekend getaway. Things changed dramatically when I got promoted to senior developer 3 years into our marriage. My salary nearly doubled, and suddenly our financial struggles eased. 6 months later, I was offered a position as development team lead with another substantial raise. We finally had enough for a down payment on a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a desirable suburb. Amanda was thrilled with our new home and neighborhood. Around this time, Amanda started talking about cutting back her hours at work. She was feeling burned out, she said, and with my income increasing so significantly, it made sense for her to have more time to manage our home and prepare for starting a family. I supported her decision completely. She reduced to part-time, working 3 days a week. Within another year, she stopped working altogether. Her reasoning seemed sound at the time. We were financially secure with my income alone, and she wanted to focus on creating the perfect home environment before we had children. I never questioned it. If anything, I felt proud that I could provide this lifestyle for her. Our standard of living continued to rise with my career advancement. The basic sedan we had driven for years was replaced by a luxury SUV for Amanda and a high-end sports car for me. Our modest annual vacations to nearby states transformed into international trips to Europe and the Caribbean. Designer clothes, expensive jewelry, and high-end furniture became the norm rather than special occasion splurges. Amanda also found a new social circle. Our neighborhood was filled with affluent families, and she quickly bonded with several stay-at-home wives whose husbands worked in finance, medicine, or law. These women spent their days shopping, attending fitness classes, and organizing elaborate charity events. Amanda eagerly joined their ranks, coming home with stories about their lunches at exclusive restaurants and shopping trips to boutiques I had never heard of. I started noticing changes in Amanda as she became more entrenched in this lifestyle. The credit card bills grew larger each month. When I gently suggested we might want to rein in the spending a bit and put more toward retirement, she would become defensive, reminding me how hard she worked to maintain our home and social connections. To keep the peace, I would back down. Our emotional connection was shifting too. The intimate conversations we once had about our dreams, fears, and ideas gradually disappeared, replaced by discussions about home renovations, vacation plans, or her friends' latest purchases. Physical intimacy became less frequent, often occurring only after I had given her an expensive gift or agreed to some major purchase. I tried multiple times to reconnect. I suggested weekend trips, just the two of us, no phones or distractions. I attempted to revive our tradition of Sunday morning coffee and conversation on the porch. I even proposed we take a cooking class together, something she had once mentioned wanting to do. Each suggestion was met with lukewarm interest at best, or an excuse about being too busy with her social obligations. Despite these concerning changes, I still believed we had a solid foundation. I told myself every marriage goes through phases, and we would find our way back to each other eventually. I had no idea how wrong I was. The day everything changed started normally enough. I left for work at 7:30, kissing Amanda goodbye as she scrolled through social media in bed. Around noon, I developed a pounding migraine that made it impossible to focus on my code. My boss suggested I go home and rest rather than suffering through the afternoon. I gratefully accepted. I arrived home just after 1, pulling into our garage quietly. I was hoping to slip upstairs, take my medication, and nap without disturbing Amanda if she was busy with something. As I entered through the kitchen, I heard her laughing in the living room. She was on the phone, her voice carrying clearly through our open concept first floor. I know, Jessica. David is the same way. These men think we actually married them for their personalities, she said, followed by more laughter. I froze, my hand still on the door handle. Something in her tone made me stay silent. Honestly, Darrell is just a paycheck to me at this point. Amanda continued, her voice casual, as if discussing the weather. I mean, he is so boring now. All he talks about is work and saving for the future. Meanwhile, I am trying to enjoy my life now. My stomach dropped. I felt physically ill hearing those words in her voice. No, I do not feel bad about it. I married him because I knew he would be successful. He was so dedicated and ambitious. I could see the potential for a comfortable life. And I was right. The guy makes $300,000 a year now. There was a pause, as Jessica apparently responded. Attractive God, no, not anymore. He has put on at least 20 pounds since we got married. But who cares? His bank account is very attractive, she laughed again. Besides, when I need actual excitement, there are plenty of good-looking personal trainers at my gym who are very attentive. I quietly backed out of the door and closed it as silently as possible. I got back into my car and drove, not caring where I was going. I ended up at Lakefront Park, sitting on a bench staring at the water for nearly 2 hours. My mind replayed not just what I had heard, but countless moments from our marriage that suddenly made painful sense. The time I could not afford to take her to the Bahamas for our 3rd anniversary because I had just started my new position and could not take time off yet. She had been cold to me for weeks. The way her face would light up when I surprised her with jewelry, but would quickly become disinterested when I tried to have a deep conversation. How she would become physically affectionate, primarily when she wanted something like the kitchen remodel or the new car. I had been so blind, so willfully naive. What hurt most was not just the betrayal, but the realization that I had enabled it every step of the way. I had worked 60-hour weeks to provide a lifestyle that was apparently the only thing she valued about me. I had dismissed the red flags because I wanted to believe in us. As my initial shock subsided, anger took its place. Then, surprisingly, clarity. I would not confront her immediately. That would accomplish nothing except giving her time to prepare her defense and potentially hide assets. No, I needed to be strategic. I needed to confirm this was truly how she felt, and not just her showing off for a toxic friend. I returned home late that evening, claiming I had a dinner meeting with clients. Amanda barely looked up from her phone, just asking if I had eaten because she had already ordered herself sushi delivery. I said I was fine, watching her carefully. There was no guilt in her expression, no hint that she had said such horrible things about me just hours earlier. This was not new behavior. This was who she truly was. Over the next week, I paid close attention to our interactions. I declined a shopping trip to the mall for new clothes, saying we should save a bit this month. Her mood instantly darkened, and she remained distant all day. The following evening, I suggested we cook a simple meal together instead of going to our usual upscale restaurant for date night. She manufactured a headache and went to bed early. When I mentioned my company might be tightening budgets and bonuses could be smaller this year, she looked genuinely panicked. The most revealing test came when I gave her a simple silver bracelet for no special occasion. Though it cost a fraction of the jewelry she had become accustomed to, I presented it as if it were an expensive designer piece. Her reaction was telling. She became instantly affectionate, suggesting we open a bottle of wine and take it upstairs. The transaction could not have been clearer. My worst fears were confirmed. Our relationship was purely transactional for her. I knew I needed professional advice before making any moves. I contacted my college friend Michael, now a financial advisor, and arranged to meet him for lunch well away from our neighborhood. "This is serious, Darrell," Michael said after I explained the situation. "You need to protect yourself, but you have to be careful about how you do it." He advised me to consult with a lawyer before making any financial changes. That afternoon, I met with Patricia Bennett, a divorce attorney recommended by Michael. Her office was downtown, minimizing the chance of running into anyone who knew Amanda. "Based on what you have described, you have grounds for divorce," Patricia explained. "But how you handle the financial aspects now will significantly impact the divorce proceedings later." She outlined my options and their potential consequences. I could not simply cut Amanda off completely, as she could claim financial abandonment. However, I was not obligated to fund her excessive lifestyle either. Patricia advised me to document everything, particularly Amanda's spending habits and any evidence of her statements about the marriage. "Open your own bank account at a different bank," she instructed. "Transfer a reasonable portion of your savings there. You are entitled to protect your assets, but do not hide them. Transparency will be your friend in court." With my legal consultation complete, I formulated my plan. First, I opened a new bank account and transferred 40% of our savings into it. This was money I had earned and saved before our marriage, which Patricia confirmed was legally mine to protect. Next, I changed my direct deposit information at work. My paycheck would now go into my new account with only a reasonable household expense amount transferring automatically to our joint account. I calculated exactly what was needed for mortgage, utilities, groceries, and basic necessities. I then gathered documentation of Amanda's spending over the past year. The numbers were shocking even to me. She had spent over $30,000 on clothing alone, $15,000 on spa and salon services, and countless more on lunches and shopping trips with her friends. I also began recording our conversations, which is legal in Illinois with one-party consent. I specifically created situations that might prompt her to reveal her true feelings again, like mentioning a colleague who was going through divorce. She took the bait, commenting that her friend Jessica's recent divorce settlement was disappointing because she should have gotten much more from him for putting up with him all those years. The final step was the credit cards. As the primary account holder, I was legally responsible for all charges, even those made by Amanda as an authorized user. I called each credit card company and removed her as an authorized user effective immediately. I left one card active with a modest limit for legitimate household expenses. Throughout this process, I maintained absolute normalcy in my behavior. I left for work at the same time each day, came home when expected, and participated in our regular activities. If anything, I was more pleasant than usual, which Amanda seemed to interpret as contentment with our situation. She had no idea what was coming. I knew exactly when everything would unravel. Amanda had been planning a shopping trip with her friends to Michigan Avenue's luxury stores, followed by dinner at an exclusive restaurant where the average check was several $100s. She had mentioned it several times, clearly excited about spending what would undoubtedly be thousands in a single day. As a precaution, I had already packed essential items and important documents in a bag that I kept in my office. I had also secured a small but comfortable apartment with a month-to-month lease paid from my new separate account. The day of her shopping trip arrived. She left in high spirits, dressed immaculately, and meeting her friends for breakfast before their spree. I went to work as usual, focusing intently on a complex project to keep my mind occupied. I knew that by evening my marriage would effectively be over. But strangely, I felt more at peace than I had in weeks. The truth, however painful, was preferable to living a lie. The first missed call came at 3:15 in the afternoon. By 5:30, there were 17 missed calls and 23 text messages, each more frantic and angry than the last. "Why are my cards being declined? Call me immediately. What have you done? I have never been so humiliated. I had to have Jessica pay for me. Fix this. Now." I did not respond to any of them. At 7:45, I heard the front door slam so hard that the pictures rattled on the walls. Amanda stormed into the living room, where I sat calmly reading a book. "What the hell have you done?" she screamed, her face contorted with rage. I was standing there with thousands of dollars of merchandise, and my card was declined, in front of everyone. Then at dinner, same thing. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was? I closed my book slowly and looked at her. Please, lower your voice, Amanda. I can hear you perfectly well. Do not tell me to lower my voice. Why were my cards declined? Did you cancel them? Fix it right now. She was practically shaking with anger. Without a word, I took out my phone, opened the recording app, and played the conversation I had overheard that day. Darrell is just a paycheck to me at this point. Her voice rang out clearly in the silent room. The color drained from her face. She lunged for my phone, but I moved it away quickly. Where did you get that? You were spying on me. That is illegal, she sputtered. It is not illegal to overhear a conversation in my own home when I returned early due to illness, I replied calmly. And it clarified a lot of things for me. You do not understand. She switched tactics instantly, her voice softening. Jessica and I were just talking. Women say things like that sometimes. It did not mean anything. I think it meant exactly what it sounded like. And my decision about the credit cards reflects that new understanding. What decision, she demanded. I have removed you as an authorized user on all accounts except one which has a $500 limit for household necessities. Your access to our savings has been limited to basic living expenses. She stared at me in disbelief. You cannot do that. That money is mine too. Actually, I consulted with a lawyer. I can and I have. I will continue to pay for this house for groceries, for utilities, but I will not fund shopping sprees, spa days, or $500 dinners anymore. Her strategy shifted again. She moved closer, her hand reaching out to touch my arm, her voice taking on a seductive tone. Baby, we can work this out. I said some stupid things to impress Jessica. You know how she is. It did not mean anything. I moved away from her touch. Do not insult my intelligence any further, Amanda. I have been watching carefully since I heard that conversation. Every interaction between us has confirmed what you said. I am a paycheck to you. Nothing more. Her face hardened again. Fine. If that is how you want to play it, I will call a divorce lawyer tomorrow. I will take half of everything. The house, your retirement accounts, everything. You will be paying alimony for years. Is that what you want? I have already spoken with a divorce attorney, I replied. I will be filing papers tomorrow, and I have documented your spending habits, your statements about the marriage, and the fact that you chose not to work despite being fully able to. My lawyer believes that will significantly impact any settlement. The shock on her face would have been satisfying if the whole situation were not so sad. She had never imagined I would stand up for myself this way. In her mind, I was predictable, malleable, and easily manipulated through sex or emotional outbursts. My parents will not stand for this, she threatened, pulling out her final card. Her father was a successful business owner who had always doted on her. Dad will get his lawyers involved. You will regret this. Your parents are welcome to hire any lawyers they like. My decision is final. Amanda stormed upstairs and slammed our bedroom door. I calmly packed the last of my prepared belongings and moved them to my car. I would sleep in the guest room tonight and move to my new apartment tomorrow after work. The next morning, Amanda tried a different approach. She came downstairs in tears, claiming she realized how much she had hurt me and wanted to work on our marriage. She suggested couples counseling, promised to get a job, and swore she would change. 3 years ago, I might have believed her. Now I saw it for what it was, a desperate attempt to maintain her lifestyle. The divorce papers will be filed today, I said firmly. I will be moving out this evening. I left for work before she could respond. When I returned that evening to collect the rest of my things, she was gone, presumably at her parents' house. It was a relief not to have another confrontation. 3 days later, my phone rang at 6 in the morning. It was Amanda screaming so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. The mortgage payment bounced. The power company called about an overdue bill. There are credit card collectors calling the house. What have you done? I waited until she ran out of breath. I paid exactly what I said I would pay, the normal amount for the mortgage and utilities. If there are issues, it must be related to the additional credit cards you opened without my knowledge. There was a telling silence on the other end of the line. "What are you talking about?" she finally asked, her voice lacking conviction. "My lawyer discovered several credit accounts opened in both our names that I never authorized. That is fraud, Amanda. We have reported it to the credit bureaus and the police. You cannot prove anything," she whispered. "Actually, I can. The signature on the applications is not mine, and I have documentation of where I was on the dates these applications were supposedly signed. Now, unless you have something productive to add, I need to get ready for work." I hung up feeling a strange mixture of sadness and relief. The woman I had loved and trusted for 7 years was essentially a stranger to me. Or perhaps I was finally seeing who she had been all along. The divorce process was surprisingly straightforward once Amanda realized how much evidence I had gathered. Her initial threats of a lengthy court battle faded when her own lawyer likely explained the reality of her situation. We reached a settlement that was fair, if not as generous as she had hoped. I kept my retirement accounts and most of our savings while she received a reasonable one-time payment and some of our household items. The first month after moving out was difficult, despite the clarity of my decision. I had built my entire adult life around our relationship, and its absence left a void. Some nights, I would sit in my new apartment, surrounded by boxes, and question everything. Had there been signs from the beginning that I missed? Could I have done something differently? Was I partially responsible for how transactional our relationship became? My friend Brad recommended a therapist who specialized in helping people through divorce. Dr. Kelman helped me process my feelings of betrayal and recognize that while I had made mistakes, Amanda's deception and materialism were not my fault. "You trusted someone who did not deserve that trust," he told me. "That speaks to your character, not a flaw in you." Gradually, I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with during my marriage. Amanda had never enjoyed spending time with my college friends, finding them unsophisticated compared to her wealthy social circle. Now I realized how much I had missed their genuine companionship. At Brad's suggestion, I joined a rock climbing gym, something I had enjoyed in college but abandoned due to Amanda's lack of interest. The physical challenge helped rebuild my confidence, and the community there was welcoming and unpretentious. As the divorce proceedings continued, more of Amanda's financial deceptions came to light. She had opened multiple credit cards in both our names, using my good credit score to secure high limits. She had hidden purchases by having them delivered to her friends' houses. There were even loans I knew nothing about, used to fund shopping trips she had disguised as charity events. Rather than fighting for every dollar, I proposed a settlement that would free me from her debts while giving her enough to start over. My lawyer thought I was being too generous, but I wanted a clean break more than I wanted retribution. The day we met to sign the final papers was surreal. Amanda looked nothing like the polished designer-clad woman I had lived with for years. Her hair was simply styled, her clothes were basic brands, and she wore minimal makeup. She barely met my eyes as we signed the documents that ended our marriage. A year after our divorce was finalized, I ran into Amanda at a coffee shop downtown. I almost did not recognize her. She was in a retail store uniform, apparently now working as a sales associate. Our eyes met briefly before she quickly looked away and hurried out without her order. Despite everything, I felt no satisfaction at her reduced circumstances. If anything, I hoped she had found some authentic happiness away from the materialistic values that had consumed her. By then, my own life had transformed in positive ways. I had accepted a position with a new company that offered not just higher pay, but more meaningful work developing software for medical research. I had moved to a different neighborhood, a modest but charming area where people valued community over status symbols. I approached dating again with careful consideration. I was transparent about my financial situation from the beginning, sometimes deliberately mentioning budget constraints or frugal choices to gauge reactions. Some women clearly lost interest at the first mention of financial boundaries, which I now recognized as a valuable screening tool. Eventually, I met Jasmine at a community volunteer event. She was a pediatric nurse with a genuine passion for helping others. Our connection was based on shared values and mutual respect. When she insisted on splitting the bill on our early dates, I found it refreshingly authentic rather than off-putting as I might have in the past. With Jasmine, I experienced what a true partnership feels like. We discuss major purchases together, maintain healthy financial independence while working toward common goals, and value each other for who we are, not what we can provide. The contrast with my marriage to Amanda could not be more stark. Looking back, I can see the red flags I missed with Amanda. Her increasing focus on material possessions, her dismissal of my emotional needs, the way her affection correlated directly with spending. But I also recognize how easy it is to be blinded when you want to believe in someone. The most valuable lesson from this painful chapter was learning that self-respect is worth more than any lifestyle or possession. By standing up for myself, I lost a superficial relationship, but gained authentic connection both with others and with myself. If you are watching this and recognize similar patterns in your own relationship, know that you deserve to be valued for who you are, not what you provide. A true partner walks beside you through all of life's circumstances, not just when the credit cards are working. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. Have you ever discovered someone was using you for money or status? Share your story in the comments below. Remember, sometimes losing what you thought you wanted opens the door to finding what you truly need.